Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Business Success Conversations with Carthy Accountants. I'm Michael Carthy, once again joined by the wonderful team of client relationship managers at Carthy Accountants, Lucy, Adam, and Edith. So I'll tell you what I'd like to talk about today. Bad clients. Brilliant. Why not? Bad clients. And do you know what? They come in all shapes and sizes. You have the suckers who take your time, your energy. You have the bad payers who don't pay you on time. You name it. There are a whole host of reasons people are bad clients. You see it firsthand from our business. You see it secondhand with other people's business. I would like to get to the bottom of A, why we take them on in the first place. B, how do we get rid of them? And C, how do we not take them on?
Just to start the conversation off, I think the key word for me is value, and it's clients seeing value in the services that we can give and provide as accountants. So aside from the personality and expectation and all this other stuff we can talk about, I think key is if you've got a good accountant, or anywhere for that matter, you go to a restaurant and the food is good, the service is good, you're not going to complain because you're happy. So I think, and in that instance, it's easier, so to speak, because you're seeing a tangible benefit to being a customer. You're having a nice meal. With accountancy and accountants, what we're putting out is our advice, our expertise, and sometimes that's perceived as intangible rewards for our clients. And if they're expecting things to come, meet deadlines, it's difficult for them to value actually the work and everything else that goes in behind the scenes. And that, in my experience, is where frustrations lie as step one. And if they don't value actually how much work they don't see goes on, then that's a pressure point.
So essentially what you're saying is a trait of a bad client is one who doesn't see the value you're doing. Correct. So that's important for us to promote what we're doing, explain how important it is. Do you know what? Just because you don't see us, this is what's happening. We don't see the bin men every week, but we get back and our bin is empty. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that it's not just the accountancy industry that has this. It's anyone that has any client. If you have a client base, you will always find ones that won't value what you do. And if there's ones that don't value you, then they start building resentment and they stop having that two-way communication, or they start having arguments with you about anything and everything because they don't value what you're doing.
We've been in the position where our bad clients who take all the time up are losing us money. And that happens with a lot of businesses. So the question is, how do our clients, potential clients, ensure they're not, well, first of all, they're not taking on bad clients?
I think initially it's important for your team to all be on the same page on where you want to drive the business and what clients you want to see come into the door, what clients you want to work with. I think that's an important first stage. We have conversations with new clients, we get to know them, we build a relationship with them, and then come to a conclusion. Do we want to work with you? Can we see, are we a good fit for you? Are you a good fit for us?
It's a two-way relationship.
Yeah, there has to be that two-way communication, not just communication, but that two-way respect.
100%. Yeah, I think clients are quite easy. Clients are quite ready to just assume we work for you. I'm paying you, I want this service. What they need to realize is actually it's a business relationship and we'll work with you as well as you can work with us. And, that gets lost in translation.
Yeah, the fact is every business owner has worked hard to do what they do. Therefore, people need to respect that they're the professionals. They know what they're doing.
I think for me, it's knowing what client base you want, as you said, Lucy, but then making sure you're constantly checking, because it's really easy for a client to portray themselves to be something you want, but actually in 6 months or 12 months' time, they may not be that ideal client anymore. And it's finding the right tact to have that conversation. It could very well be that they just need educating. They've let some bad habits creep in and they're no longer paying on time and they just need that reminder. Or they're no longer responding to your queries and they just need that reminder that we can't work well with you unless you start responding.
I've seen it exactly like that with clients I've worked with, where they've gone, this is a bad client, they need to move, they need to disappear from me. And I've said, have we tried educating? And I don't know if you remember a few years ago with us, it's educate, eradicate. Education is first.
Yep.
That you know, just because they're a bad client for you doesn't mean they're a bad person, a bad business, that sort of thing. The fact is, the reason they're a bad client is they don't fit in with your model. So for us, for instance, like we talk to our clients, it's about alignment. So the fact is, you know, if a client says to me, I'll pay you when I've got money in, that's not good enough. We have direct debits. You pay us when our invoice is due. Other people might accept that, but that's not the way we work. So the fact is, a bad client for us might be different to a good client for someone else. It's about the alignment, the fit, how everything works together.
Yeah. Our relationship with our clients is built on trust, respect, and expectation.
So Adam, as a business, it's inevitable we're going to get some bad clients on our books. What we then have to realise is, and unfortunately a lot of the time we're relying on that income, and sometimes we have to take a leap of faith for that. What do you say to your clients when they come in and they say, well, I've got a bad client?
I think it's understanding the relationship and the communication, and actually having the honest conversation and saying, this isn't working. You know, my expectation is here, your expectation is there. And sometimes you have to just face the facts and say, okay, we're not aligned right now in our business journey. And maybe we both take a step back from this relationship. And if we cross paths again at a better time, or things change, as they always do in business, you just need to treat things as adults and as people with respect. And be honest with yourself sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no point in closing doors, is there? Even if at this point you have to part ways.
Yeah, you're always there in the future to potentially build that relationship back up. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important to identify why it's become a bad relationship, why it's breaking down, because there's multiple reasons why it could be, and there could also be stuff going on in their personal lives that's now impacting their business decisions. And whilst that's not your job to fix it, it's something that then might open the door when that has been resolved. If you're in a position where they've become bad payers, have they got something going on there? Is it a position of lack of communication? Is there something going on there? It's really important to identify why they're being deemed a bad client.
I think that's really important. The fact is, I think I said at the beginning, one person's bad client is another's dream client. You know, for us, and again, not to be too much about us, but for us, a non-communicative client is a bad client. Some people would be really happy about that. Great, a client who doesn't phone me, doesn't get back to me. That's not for us. We're about relationship and building that thing.
Because this is it, like identifying, you need to know why they're a bad client. And actually amongst your team, your version of a bad client will be completely different to another person's.
Right.
And there may be a personality clash. And actually for the business, they're not a bad client. They just need to move to a different point of contact.
Which is, again, very different if you're a sole trader, one-man band,
But at that point,
who's a team.
exactly. But when you are a one-man band, that's your decision and it's your business to be able to turn around to them and say, this isn't working. I never think you should shirk. You should never bury your head and just deal with it. You are running your own business to have a better life. There is a massive emotional toil on dealing with clients you don't want to deal with. And that goes for just being a sole trader or for having your own team and having employees dealing with them. That emotional turmoil that can be caused by having a bad client can have massive ramifications, because there's suddenly work ethic will go down the pan because no one actually wants to come into work to do what they're trying to do because they're going to have to service a client they don't want to see. It's very important to highlight what's going wrong to then be able to address that. And I always feel the last step should always be to get rid of a client. I think you should revisit, educate, personality type, if they're bad payers. You've got to identify the problem to see if you can find a solution before telling them this isn't working.
So yeah, bad payers, get them on direct debit.
Yeah.
Bad payers, you pay your bill before I do the work.
Yeah. There will always be a solution to any problem. And if at the end of it, you've tried all your solutions and it's still not working, that's when you say no.
I think you said the exact right words there with bury your head. The fact is, don't. I think the fact is a bad client or a client of any description would sooner you talk honestly to them. And the chances are, if you're thinking this relationship's not working, so are they. And that, either you discuss it and go, right, we're going to make it better by doing this, or then you decide together it's not
Mutually.
the right way.
At the end of the day, everyone's in business and everyone needs those relationships to work. And in order for that to happen, there needs to be truthful conversations. And no one ever wants to annoy someone to the point where you're going to have a fallout. Because in any business, you're always going to run into people again. And you never want something to be any animosity between you.
No.
You always need it to be an amicable split.
So if you've identified you've got a bad client, I think the best way to deal with that is proactively. Don't leave it, bury your head in the sand and let that relationship turmoil into something that's negative and then annoy them into leaving or getting emotions higher when they don't need to be.
Yeah, so if you leave a situation to escalate and it does get to a point where the client leaves, then what you've done is actually tarnish your reputation, because you've got to think business is people, and that client that you've lost, you don't know who else could have been a potential client through that person and the relationships they have with people. So it comes back to always treating people with respect, having open communication, and addressing any problems that come up in your business and personal life as you would straight away, and don't let things build to a point where you can't deal with it, and then your business and your personal life suffer.
So a prime example for us, we've had clients that have left and actually they've gone elsewhere and they found that sometimes the grass isn't always greener. And because we've left it amicable with the door always open, they've come back. There's never any hard feelings and we build back up. We can work on what wasn't working to ensure that actually going forward, it builds a healthy relationship that's mutually beneficial for all parties.
We've also had clients that have left us because the relationship wasn't working, but then have in the future recommended us to other people because they know as a firm we are here to build relationships with people. It just wasn't necessarily right for them at the time.
Absolutely. So guys, I think we've established there's no such thing as a bad client, it's a bad fit. Thank you very much for that. I shall see you very soon.